I'm gonna do a recap of all the books that I read. A good gothic romance. I adored this book. Gave me the ick. This is good. Think they're gonna be together, but something happens. This book ruined my day. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Clara and I love to read books. So today we are doing... this should not be here. Today we are doing my March and April wrap up. I know I'm late, as I said in the last video. I'm having trouble being on time, but late... What is the expression already? Better late than never. Yeah, it's better late than never. I'm only holding these two books because these are the only one that I have like in the hard copy, but I read several books in those 2 months on my ebook also, so we're gonna talk about them. I did a lot of good things during the month of April. I created my book talk and bookstagram, so if you want to find me on either of those, I am there too. I learned a lot of stuff content creation wise, but I haven't read that much, which is quite funny because I created all this to talks about books. It was a great month of creation, but it wasn't a great month of reading, but that's fine because sometimes life is just lifing, you know, and I'm really happy to be doing this with you, and I'm also very excited to talk about these books today. I've put books that I read in March with the books that I read in April to give you a wrap-up that is interesting, because otherwise it would have been like 1 or 2 books, I think. And I want to talk about the books that I read in March as well, so we'll have a more interesting list of books to talk about. So in this video I'm going to do a recap of all the books that I read in April and March, talk a little bit about each of those books but in a spoiler-free manner, and then say if I recommend them or not. Obviously, this is my opinion, so maybe there are gonna be books in there that you like and I don't like, and vice versa, but that's fine. I'm very happy if you like a book that I didn't like, and I hope you do the same for me. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna go on my Goodreads to see exactly what I read. So we started up the month of March strong with Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. This is a gothic romance. Yeah, that's it. Please read it. So at the beginning of this book we follow our FMC. She's been trying for years to understand what exactly killed her mother, because her mother had some kind of illness that we witnessed at the beginning of the book. It gets her to be accepted into this very elite university that is the only one in the world that studies the thing that killed her mother. And when she goes there, she meets the person that is in charge of the research and who is also her professor, and his name is Dr. Bramwell. So this is taboo romance of teacher student. It's a gothic romance, so it's very eerie. The setting is extremely atmospheric. The romance is amazing. A lot of people say that it is a slow burn, and it is, because they're not getting together like right away, but they don't meet right away as well. I am the kind of girl that likes the slow burn that burns until book 3. In a standalone, I guess it can be seen as a slow burn. It could have waited a little longer for me, but it's still an amazing romance. I think that Carrie Lake did everything right with this book. The plot was very interesting, eerie, you wanted to know what's gonna happen next. The romance was very well done and you understood why those two people were attracted to each other. Our MMC is very much an asshole, is very Orient-coded. I really like the dynamic that they have. They complemented each other very well. I didn't have the 5 stars feeling with this book, but it's still a very good read, and if you want a good gothic romance with a slow burn or semi-slow burn for the extra slow burn girlies like me, then this is the book for you. If you read Gothicana, I think it is, by Runix, those two books are very similar. I personally was disappointed when I read Gothicana. It had a lot of good elements, but the execution was lacking in my opinion. Nocticadia is really like the better book of the two. It's not the same author, but it attempts to do the same thing, and I have to say that right from the get-go, when you start Nocticadia, there is a scene that is disgusting, that is and it sets the tone. It doesn't try that hard to be, it just is. When with Gothic Hannah, I felt like it tried to be gothic, but it didn't succeed in it. But that's, once again, only my opinion. So if you're searching a better book than Gothic Hannah, but with the same vibes, this is the book for you. So for Nocticadia, I gave a 4.75. Then I read my first 5 stars read of the month of March, and it was Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I picked up this book because I wanted a fluffy romance, I guess. I didn't think this book was gonna be that deep, but it got really deep, and oh my god, I adored it. Ari, or FMC, her twin brother and the best friend have some kind of house by the beach, and they go there every summer. They decide to go to this house one last time before they all go to university together. Harry has had a crush on her brother's best friend since she met him, essentially, and nothing ever happened between them until that summer when everything changes. But that same summer, she meets Noah Riley, who's going to go in the same university as them, and everything develops from there. I adore this book. The FMC and the MMC, I adore them. The female protagonist, Ari, was so relatable. I loved her. I felt really connected to her. And then Noah is a special kind of man. Noah is everything you want in a book boyfriend. The beginning was so giggly and funny. It gave me all the vibes of a romantic swoony romance. And then something happens and it broke my heart. This book gets really deep at some point, so don't go into it just expecting a regular romance, because that is not what it is. It's so much more than that, but it's so well done. There is a trope in this book that I don't usually like, but I adored in this book. I think it was very well executed. I wrote a review for this book that I think says everything. This book was everything I love in a contemporary romance. I giggled and kicked my feet, then I cried and felt devastated, and the ending made me whole again. So many quotes will stay forever with me. Ari was an incredible FMC, I adored her, and she felt so relatable. And Noah, straight up husband material, that one. I love when you feel how much two characters are made for each other, and Megan Brandy, you did it to perfection. So this is what I think about this book. Those two characters complement each other very well. You have a set of side characters that are very lovable as well. I won't stop recommending it because it's such an amazing read. Please read it. Then I was in my ooh, I like a moving read era. And I was thinking about doing this video that I already posted about emotional books. So I started reading books that were said to be emotional, which led me to read Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. Let me start by saying that a lot of people love this book, so don't let my review be something that convinced you not to read it. It was not a read for me. At the beginning of Darling Venom, we meet our FMC. She's, I think, 15, and she wants to unalive herself. One night she decides to go on the rooftop of her school because she wants to jump from it, and she meets a guy from her same school that had the same idea on the same night. They became friends, they develop some kind of feelings for each other. They make this sort of pact that every year they're gonna meet on this rooftop, and one year everything changes. The blurb of this one says, "My first love ended in tragedy, my second began with his brother." So there it is. This is a book that deals heavily with grief, and I have to say that this part was giving. Not in a perfect way for me, but it was still giving. What was really the downfall of this book for me was the relationship. As I said, we have this first love with the brother, then something happened, and then several years later our FMC meets the brother in question that is older, and they couldn't be more different if they tried. The only thing that puts them in each other's path are the fact that they feel this grief, that they're both traumatized by the event, and actually it's the only thing that these two characters have in common. Most of this book is them like getting closer then pushing the other away, and it gets boring at some point. So here's the thing with this book. I felt the 5 stars feeling when I started it. The 20-ish first percent were like perfect for me. I was like, I'm feeling it, this is good. And then it did this and it went down really fast. Yeah. it didn't go up after that. There are several things that I didn't like about this book, to be honest. First of all, I didn't think those two characters were meant to be with each other. Like, they had nothing in common except the grief that they both shared. They didn't change that much throughout the book. They didn't grow that much. The only one that grows is actually the dad, the one interesting character to me, but the other ones I was like, okay, sure. Also, the first spicy scene, the FMC is a gynecologist. She goes to a gynecologist appointment and he does a pap smear test. And she, how can I say that? She reaches the big O on his table while he's doing nothing special to her. And the worst part of it is that he acts very professional about it the whole way around. I don't want to yank anybody's yum, so I'm not gonna like rant about this too much. But this scene gave me the ick. It was not my thing. One other pet peeves of mine is when the FMC is like still a virgin after 20 plus years and the guy is very experimented with women. Like, I don't like that. It's not a dynamic that I particularly appreciate. So that, combined with the fact that I didn't feel any chemistry between those two characters, the story was kind of repeating itself at some point. This book was just not for me. A lot of people adore this book, so don't let my opinion take you away from this book. I was so confused when I finished reading it. At first I was thinking like, I don't know if I adore this book or if I hate it. And I don't hate it, I just don't ever want to read this book again. It's just a no for me. But it may be a maybe for you. And if you love that book, if it's one of your favorite books, I'm sorry, I tried. I really tried to love it. I go into every book that I read with a real desire for it to be a 5 stars. But sometimes it's not a 5 stars, and that's okay. Not every book can be a 5 stars.
1 minute later.
My boyfriend just brought me coffee. So I don't know if I said it, but for Darling Venom, I gave it a 3 stars, and that's me being generous because I really dislike this book. The only reason I didn't give it less, it's because it's not badly written or anything. But for me, 3 stars is really like, it's a book. It's middle of the road. I won't ever think about this book again, or if I think about it, it's not gonna be a, oh, I really like this book. It's gonna be more like a, huh. Yeah. So then I read Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. I heard it's being republished soon, but I read the indie version first because I was very excited. I heard a lot of good things about this book, and I have to say that it is very good. So at the beginning, we learned that her FMC and her people have been exiled to the sea decades ago. They live in some kind of grove, but that is very dangerous and difficult to live in. And once a year, they get this chance to attend a market that is on land. So they go to this market, but then things don't go as planned. A guard follows her and then accuses her of stealing. They have to flee essentially to go back to the grove. But then the same man, the same guard, comes to the grove and she learns that she is linked to him and to the people on land more than she thinks. The first part of this book I adored. Like, most of it is spent on the sea and I was gripping the pages. I loved it. The romance was giving. I really like RFMC. I like the relationship, the banter. There is a bird familiar in it that I really like. I always love when there are animals, familiars or a companion into the story. I think it adds a lot to it. Then there is another part that is in a court, and I didn't like it as much. I thought it was kind of boring, and at the very end there is some kind of crazy plot twist. I really liked it. Did I think that the plot twist could have been a little bit more prepared throughout the book? Yes, but this book is gonna be, as I said, republished, so I think there are very good chances that this is gonna be made a little bit better. This book has the potential to be a 5 stars like series. It just lacks the little more polished stuff. It's so close. It was such a fun read. I highly recommend it. I gave it a 4.75 stars. It was really entertaining. I had such a good time, but the 5 stars feeling wasn't there. Then I read Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. This was an interesting read. I was very excited by this book at the beginning when I heard about it, because the blurb is essentially 2 people that meet in every lifetime, different bodies, different genders, but every time they fall in love with each other, but every time one of them kills the other before they are 18. And our FMC, she doesn't know why. He keeps like killing her, or she keeps having to kill him before they are 18, is to prevent something from happening, but she doesn't know what. So we get to see them in like all these different lifetimes. It's so interesting to meet like every version of Evelyn and Arden. It's that kind of story when it's I'm gonna find you and love you in every lifetime. So here's the thing with this book. I really liked it, but there are things that I would have done different if I had been the one who wrote it. I think it concentrated too much on the fact that they were killing each other and how they were killing each other, and not enough on building the relationship and understanding exactly why they love each other so much. I want to have intimate moments when I'm like, oh yeah, they love each other and that's why. It was a lot of telling but not enough of seeing. So that was the first thing that I didn't like that much. And then the second thing is that we spend most of the book wondering, you know, why they have to kill each other every time. And when we learned the why, it was kind of lackluster for me. So let's just say it was not the perfect book for me, but I still really liked it. I found it very enjoyable, entertaining, bingeable. I really wanted to know why, so it was a real page turner. I read it very fast. And the fact that those little stuff were not like perfect to me, it doesn't make it a bad book. I still highly recommend it. A lot of people rave about this book, so if it interests you, please pick it up. I gave it 4.25 stars. Then I read one of the only book that I have in a hard copy, Quicksilver. I know I read it so late, like everyone and their mother and their dogs have read this story before me, and I finally did it. And I'm really happy to say that I did really enjoy this book. So at the beginning of this book, Saris is like a thief living in poverty with a brother. She steals something from an imperial guard, which gets her like sent into the castle to be executed. But while being there, she opens up, without really meaning to, a portal to another world, and a man, or should I say a male fae, gets out of the portal, and his name is Kingfisher. He brings her with him to his world, and she realizes that she is linked to this world and she can be a real advantage to them. At the beginning, Saris doesn't want to stay, she wants to go back to her world, so she kind of makes a pact to be starting to create stuff for them, because she has a power that hasn't been seen like in 100 of years, and in exchange, after her work is done, she can go back to her world. And then things develop from there. This is a book with a lot of fae, not just fae that like look like people, but also fae that have different shapes and forms, like more old school fae books, which I really liked. At the beginning of this book, I have to say that I was not sold on the romance, but then when it gets you good. I think the spice was very sexy. I really appreciated the side characters. The plot was interesting. Was it anything like life-changing? No, but I had such a good time with this book. I'm really excited to read the next book in this series. I hope it's gonna come out soon. I highly recommend it. I think I gave it a 4.75 stars. Yeah, it was almost perfect. I almost had the 5 stars feelings, but at the end of the day, I think I need a slow burn to give a 5 stars now. Then I read The Lies of Lena and The Secrets of Silas from Kylie Snow. This is from the Otation Chronicles, a fantasy series. These books, you already heard about it for sure, because it is like all over TikTok and Bookstagram. So at the beginning of the first book, we meet Lena as she is a teenager. She's a mage, which is some kind of witch, and her people are like discriminated and hunted, so she has to hide her identity. She meets this guy, Quill, and the beginning of this book, I'd say like the first 50% is like a fluffy, cute romance. These books are advertised like dark romantasy, you know? The first part, you really don't see that. Okay, I'm back. I had to change the battery because my camera went off suddenly. I was saying like the first part is very sweet, like nothing much happens. I was quite bored, I have to say, and I think a lot of people will be really discouraged by this first part because it's just like too fluffy, too cute. And then suddenly like there is a time jump and everything goes dark like this. It's really like an abrupt change. The characters change a lot in this time jump, and that's where everything starts to pick up and starts getting interesting, and it gets very, very dark at that time. The first book is just okay, it's fine. The second book is when it really started to be very entertaining for me, because we get to see a found family. The plot is like twisting in every direction. It's crazy, very sexy, spicy scenes, so many love interests. It's a crazy story. If you're searching for a romantasy, a dark romantasy that's gonna change your life and that's gonna be very deep and everything, this is certainly not the book for you. But was it fun and bingeable? Yes. I would link this more to trashy TV shows, like, you know, the ones where they keep like wanting to be together and you think they're gonna be together, but something happens and they can't be together anymore, and there are always like dramatic stuff happening to them, but nothing seems very serious at all, and it's just like all fun and giggles the chapter after that. This is exactly what these books are. It's funny, it's really funny, but don't expect it to be more than that. The first book is just okay. The second book is very fun to read. Is this the book of the year to me? No, but so many people love these books. So many people think this is like their favorite read of the year, so please try it for yourself. I'm definitely gonna read the next book. I gave The Lies of Lena 4.5 stars, but that's such a lie. It's a 4 stars. I'm way too generous after reading a book. And I give The Secrets of Silas 4.5 stars because it was fun. I don't need a book to be well written or very serious to have my attention. 5 stars is a feeling, and it was really entertaining. Oh, and also check the trigger warnings. These are dark. Very, very dark. The next 3 books that I read was for a list video that already has come out about emotional books, and I wanted to make like a category about books that are like really hard to read, that are really gonna break your heart, and I didn't have enough reads for this category, so I decided to read 3 books. The first one being A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. Okay, I decided to read this book knowing that it was gonna be a heartbreaking story. Like everybody told me that it was gonna be a heartbreaking story, but somehow it didn't register in my brain until I started reading this book. And then I understood exactly why people like were saying that this is one of the saddest books they have ever read in their life. Did I like it? Yes. Did I cry the whole day? Also, yes. At the beginning of this book, we follow Rune. Is a Scandinavian boy that comes to live in the US for his father's work, I think, and is really unhappy with the move until he meets Poppy, the girl next door. They get instantly friends, and then a few years after that, they fall in love. The beginning of the story is very cute. You see them falling in love and like picking each other and staying with each other until they're like 15 or 16. And then suddenly, Rune's father has to go back to Scandinavia and he's taking Rune with him. So Rune and Poppy get separated. They decide to stay together, but then Rune goes back to Scandinavia, and after a few months, Poppy ghosts him. He's heartbroken, he doesn't understand why, and a few years later, he goes back to the US, he sees Poppy again, and he learns why. I'm not gonna say more. This book is amazing. This book ruined my day. Oh my gosh, I started crying like right away. I think something sad happens in chapter 2, and then something a bit more sad happens after that, and then by the 50% I was sobbing nonstop at every sentence that I was reading. This book felt like a punch to the gut all the time. I started like crying for every bad stuff that ever happened in my life. Now talking about it, it's funny, but this book is not funny at all. But is it an amazing read? Yes. The message that this book conveys is very important and beautiful. Everything was not perfect. Sometimes the characters didn't feel all that realistic to me, but I don't know how Tilly Cole made it click, but she did. I could not give this book less than 5 stars with the reaction that it elicited in me. It was so strong. I never cried that much reading a book. My eyes were so swollen, I couldn't see properly. But do I still recommend it? Yes, absolutely. It's a beautiful read. If you ever want a very moving and heart story, please check up the trigger warnings for this one. It's the book for you. Still, for my list video, I read the duet If He Had Been With Me and If Only I Had Told Her. I really like this as well. This was such a good read. We follow Autumn and Finn. They were like very close friends. Their mother are like best friend. They raised them together as if they were a family. They always wanted them to end up together. And Finn and Autumn are very close before they enter high school. When something happens, we don't exactly know what, but they're not as close anymore. In the first chapter of book 1, we learn exactly what happens at the end, that something terrible happens. Like, this is in the title. I'm not spoiling anything. We spend most of this book following those two characters that were very close before, that are not close anymore. But this is also a coming of age story, a story about adolescence and making the right choices and learning how to own your feelings. We get crumbs of Autumn and Finn during the whole book, but we know that something happened at the end and we're like, okay, time to go now, time to go. This is a slow burn. Sometimes the crumbs are really like, you're starving, you know, for more. But the ending, the ending is rough. These books are not like for the faint of hearts. Book 2 follows exactly what happens at the end of book 1. It deals with the consequences. I personally thought that the story needed that second book. And I think I started to feel like really emotional reading that second book, because the book 1, the ending is so abrupt, I was like shocked. Book 2 really like settles, talks about grief and the consequences with so much more depth, and the writing is beautiful. Laura Nolan does an amazing job describing like what being an adolescent is, the silly thing that we think, the way we try to be so different than everybody else that we end up like being like everybody else. I would still recommend this book, but this is not a happy ending. These two before, not a happy ending. But if you want to read beautiful romance stories that end in a tragic way, those 3 books are definitely for you. I gave 5 stars to the duet because I thought that it was a beautiful story, but book 1 is not a 5 stars. The 2 combined get to 5 stars. We finally arrived to the only book that I read in April, and this is Sunrise of the Reaping by Susan Collins. So this is the Hunger Games prequel that follows Image story, Image games. So we get to see exactly what happened. This book intertwined itself so perfectly with the other Hunger Games prequel and then the Katniss and Peeta trilogy. Oh my gosh, this book was so well written. I didn't think I would find another 5 stars in the Hunger Games trilogy just because I grew up with the Hunger Games. This is one of my god tier series. Like, I will never not love this series. But I didn't think it was possible to love another Hunger Games as much as I love the original trilogy, but I do. This book is perfect. The emotion, the plot, everything is done to perfection. Susan Collins only writes when she has something to say, and oh my god, does she say a lot of stuff in this. We get to see a lot of characters that we heard about or that we already seen in other trilogies. This is such an amazing book. Please read it. This is a 5 stars, no question asked. There it is. We finally wrapped up every book that I read in the month of March and April. Did you read any of these books, and what did you think about it? What were your favorite books of those 2 months? Please let me know in the comments. I hope it was a funny video for you, or that you learned some stuff, and I guess I'll see you next time, guys.